data to all four. I like it. Facebook's online.
All right. Yep.
Yo, what's up? It's your man Chad here, chilling over here at the Hub Show Studios. We got Jay in the back on the ones and twos. So listen, tune in 7:45-ish right here, and we'll have a good time. We got news. We're going to have a lot of fun, so we'll talk to you soon. Peace. Morning Crunch. Check it out.
To engage the youth, okay? And the youth is what runs, basically, the youth is the future. So what we want to do is we want to create good citizens. That's basically the mission, is to create a good citizen.
Something totally different to me.
Oh my God, yeah.
Listen, Heather, we do great work at the Chad and Jay Foundation.
Oh my gosh.
It's mostly done remotely on beaches.
I love it.
We do our work.
We're in the palm trees, you can
We
tell.
support local economies.
You got the palm trees there. I see where you want to be.
You know,
we have a vision, you know?
Yeah.
This is pretty much everywhere I go every single day. Someone is like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute?
Every
hey,
dollar
we need this
donated
thing.
to our foundation.
I'll give you a palm tree.
Exactly. Every donation.
The inflatable type.
Every dollar donated to our foundation will go to a tropical community. So
now that's where you have to spin it and say that they've been impacted from a natural disaster.
Yeah,
See?
exactly.
Bottom.
I can't coach you that much. Come on, you're the coach.
Come on, you know.
You win.
Looking like the jacked up TV from your mom's basement.
Many said that they were by my side, but when the stakes was high, they was never down to ride. You hit their phone and you seeing that they number changed and got a different alias like every other day. I don't wanna hear the fake talk, skip the cakewalk. I seen homies bleeding on the sidewalk, line them in chalk. Homies strung out on the pills hard and the drugs, praying that the revolution never stops.
DisplayJ.com, spelled just as it sounds, right here in Hagerstown, is the guy for signs, banners, portable marketing displays, and promotional items custom made for your business. For more than 20 years, DisplayJ.com has been making great first impressions for companies in Washington County and beyond. Public events and trade shows will be back. Will you be ready? Shop local, buy local at DisplayJ.com. DisplayJ.com.
You got a guy in DisplayJ.com.
The reason I decided to start a podcast so people can have an opportunity, especially just dealing with any type of trauma, any type of pain, to be able to come to the table and talk about it. I believe there's therapeutic value in one person helping another person just by listening.
The message is hope, and the promise is freedom. Those painful parts of your story that you refuse to talk about may be exactly what someone needs to hear.
You know, addicts, alcoholics, like we're some of the smartest people in the world. And we have survival skills. Like a lot of us, we can read things, situations, because you have to, especially in the streets. So when you're looking at somebody, they can be saying one thing, but their actions are going to show something else. And for us, we have to see it.
Yeah, and see, you talk about survival skills. I used to wake up with nothing.
Nothing, right.
At the end of the night.
So I was asked to flow straight on the Crunch Show. You know what time it is. It's time for me to go. I gotta go to work. never been a jerk. You know what time it is? I never gonna lurk. Rate a record one time on the microphone. Spitting bars straight off the baritone. Lyrically, you know who it be. You can't see. Blind like Stevie, make you wonder.
I'm Mike Rennes.
And I'm Rennes Carball.
And we want you to stay tuned for the Rolls Royce, a professional wrestling podcast, the Podcast Pit, every Saturday morning at 11 a.m.
This is the Podcast Pit, brought to you by Ben Media.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that special time of the week. It is time to talk some wrestling. This is the Podcast Pit. I am your host, former professional wrestler, promoter of Voltage Wrestling, jack of all trades, master of what? I do not know. Mike Rennes. I'm alongside my broadcast partner, Rennes, the Menace, Carball. How you doing, Rennes?
I'm doing well, Mike. It's been a long week.
It's been a long week.
It's been a long week. Yeah, we had Tech Week this week for the show I'm in. I'm working on fumes, but I'm here, man.
Well, no rest for the wicked, and that is why we are here this morning. We are talking some pro wrestling.
Yep.
Here this morning on the Podcast Pit. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, we want to remind you that this show is brought to you by two of our sponsors, two of our loyal, wonderful sponsors. We've got oneupitconsulting.com. If you are a small business out there, you do not want to do the job to bad IT, contact the folks that give you technical support, system security, and most importantly, peace of mind. Peace of mind. Do you know that 22% of businesses out there do not have any kind of plan in place for a ransomware attack? Do you know this?
I do now.
You do now?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Fortunately for you folks out there, if you get a small business, OneUp IT can take care of these situations for you and prevent these situations from even happening in the first place. OneUp IT Consulting, managed services with care. You can reach them by phone at 301-799-3553 or on the web at oneupitconsulting.com. We are also brought to you by the good folks at DisplayJ.com. Our producer, the one and only LAJ, providing you for all of your large printing and signage needs. Ladies and gentlemen, indie wrestling is coming back soon, so for all you workers out there, that need some backdrop signages for your gimmick tables, please contact the good folks
Table
at skirts, like the good stuff we're seeing here, the Podcast Pit sign, all Display J, guys. This is quality work.
Local, affordable.
Yes, local, affordable, and most importantly, it'll fit an indie wrestler's budget. Contact DisplayJ.com today for all of your signage needs. And now, it's on to some wrestling news.
Not a ton of news this week, but some big news this week. Monday, the biggest news I think coming out this week is the deal between WWE and NBC to put the entire WWE network is shutting down. I believe the date is March 13th or 14th.
We're not really shutting down, but they're basically moving all of their content over to Peacock.
Yeah, and I mean the WWE network as we know it is going to come to an end. So the WWE network, all of the content that you get on the WWE network, their original shows, the pay-per-views, which is the biggest thing, is all going to be going over to NBC. And their new streaming platform, the Peacock, famous for, The Office. Like, that's the big thing that people got it for, was The Office went off Netflix, went on Peacock. This is a big deal for them. It is
a lot of reasons.
It is $1 billion over a 5-year period. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, I kind of laid it all out there on Monday. And the Podcast Pit, I think, retweeted it. But there's a couple reasons I saw this, I saw this, why this happened. So ratings are slipping, okay?
Yeah.
They just are, especially for Monday Night Raw. Vince needed needs ratings, needs people. I think he thinks that by putting his content on the Peacock, which has 25 million subscribers, against his 1.1 million subscribers for the network,
it's exposure.
Exactly. I think he's hoping that these 25 million people are going to find the network or the stuff on there, and it's going to increase ratings for their live shows like Raw, SmackDown stuff. Now, he's not going to get 25 million, but I'm betting he's banking on the fact that I think that's going to happen, and he's going to get back up into the 2 to 3 million range.
You know, this reminds me of a situation in the music industry. You know, right now, there's that song by The Weeknd that's playing everywhere.
Blinding Lights.
Yeah, Blinding Lights.
Yeah.
Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. It's playing everywhere. When I first heard that song, I didn't like it. And then all of a sudden, it kind of grew on me. And now it's so annoying, I just kind of want it to go away.
Yeah.
But the point is, you know, it's one of the top songs in the United States right now, more importantly, the world. And one of the reasons why is those two key words: repeated exposure.
Right.
Repeated exposure is a surefire way to get people to buy something.
Well,
rather than something they would rather.
Here's where it gets interesting for me. We mentioned last week that the NBC Sports Network is shutting down by the end of 2021, which is going to push everything to most likely the USA Network. Now, Monday won't be affected too bad, I would think, but it could, because USA isn't happy about it. Now NBC owns the USA Network, but the USA, they're still not happy with how the ratings are going. The biggest thing is that NHL and Premier League will get pushed to Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
You know what else? NXT runs on Wednesday night. Vince saw this coming, so Vince struck a deal with NBC because Vince will not allow AEW to go unopposed. He will put NXT on another channel Wednesday night, no matter what. Well, in order for he can't see.
I'll sit there
happening.
I'll sit there and I'll somewhat agree with you on that. However, I think it's more just it's more exposure for all of the programs that he is airing. You know, one of the things about online streaming is, you know, you can access it anywhere. Like, there's no excuse not to watch your television show at this point.
Right. I'm saying though, with the NBC deal, he's going to be able to put NXT on a different network.
Yeah.
That's NBC owned, because he will not allow AEW, because if which I think putting AEW and NXT on two separate nights is best for business. I'm sorry, I don't think this competition thing is great, but we saw when they were on separate nights because of the NBA games during the bubble, both shows got over. Oh yeah, are you reading the comments?
Yeah.
Both shows got almost over 1 million viewers. Like, that's what's best for both shows. But Vince won't allow that to happen. Vince wants AEW to be opposed in the ratings. Speaking of which, AEW once again won the ratings this week.
Yeah, it is going to continue to happen, and it is like I attribute this mostly. Yeah, there's stars on the network, but it's mostly the format of the program. It is different.
Right.
It's going to be like, guys, for anybody out there that wants to question me on this, it's going to be like this for at least 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
I think NXT will catch up somewhat. They might even win a couple of weeks. They might even win for a period of time. But however, you're looking at a situation where the format is different. People don't know what to expect next,
especially
out of
with
that show.
Especially with the TNA, the Impact stuff going on right now. NXT is kind of in this weird lull where they don't have the stars built up again, and if they are, they're just not being marketed. Like, I used to watch NXT a lot and kind of was able to follow it. I don't necessarily. I mean, I watch it, but I'm not. It's kind of boring. It's got the same format. Format. That's what it is. Now you've got your women's division, which is incredible, and you've got Karrion Kross, which is great, and there's the Adam Cole stuff going on. You know, you've got Finn Balor down there, but it's just not. You will never get back to what it was when NXT first went to TV, you know what I mean. You'll never get back to those stars because most of them have been called up. Most of those got and improperly used.
Yeah, and I mean you're also looking at this like it's a developmental league. Let's like they treat it as a developmental league.
Even though it shouldn't be treated as such,
it shouldn't
because they have. I mean, it's a developmental, but they have developmental under that. Like they have the training center. There's got and they've got 100 people in that training center.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention they have a B tour for NXT when they're actually running.
Right.
To where, the developmental guys, they get time in, like the guys that are just starting out, they're getting time in Florida.
Right.
Kind of going around the loop there. However, we got to talk about one other thing here.
Okay.
I like Royal Rumble.
Well, there's one. Well, before we get to that,
okay.
Before we get to that, because I'm a New Japan guy as well.
Yep.
And because it does deal with interpromotional type stuff, particularly AEW. So last night on New Japan Strong, which is kind of their weekly show, Jon Moxley, who is the current IWGP United States champion, showed up in person and beat the crap out of Kenta.
Wow.
Which was great. And then also this week, Kota Ibushi teased a match between him and Kenny Omega.
This is significant. This is significant because you remember all these all the heat between Kenny Omega and New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, it was going so far. I think they were even messing with his visa.
Yes.
There working in Japan, which is, I'm going to let you know, folks, that's a dirty thing to do.
Well, and that's how much wrestling, especially New Japan, does have hold over and has their hands in that government. Like when they tried to open up a NXT Japan, that will never happen. It will absolutely never happen because the government won't allow it.
No.
Whether Vince wants to admit it or not, the government will not allow it to happen, and New Japan won't allow it to happen. Because what will happen is just like what happened in Brit Wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, NXT UK ruined.
I'm not going to say I won't say they ruined, but they did what you thought they were going to do. Like, and this is a plan. This is a plan I've been hearing about for years. Again, one of my former business partners, I remember him telling me about this in 2016, 2017, about going to a promoters convention or during WrestleMania weekend, and he was telling me, hey, this is what's going on in the world of wrestling right now. The speaker that was up there, who is an independent promoter at the top, like it's at the highest level of independent wrestling.
Sure.
They were talking about WWE is literally looking to put NXT territories in different countries and then different parts of the United States in order to wipe out the indies.
Right.
If you're not the quote I remember specifically was, if you're not in the wrestling business right now, you're not getting in on this at this level, the promoter level at this point, because it's not like it's just basically not going to be possible. Right. Granted, COVID and a lot of other things, the emergence of AEW kind of prevented that.
Yeah. And
thank
the
God.
fact that and you're seeing kind of a pushback from this AEW Impact, Ring of Honor working with New Japan possibly working with AEW, those wounds kind of healing. If you've got these, if you get AEW Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and the NWA working together, that is going to be your driving force to compete against Vince McMahon. Now, there'll be, they'll never overtake the WWE. The WWE is the biggest, it is the greatest marketing and promoting of any wrestling promotion, but they will be able to oppose it and kind of keep everything alive. Because if WWE does that, wrestling as we know it will die. You can't. Competition is what is best for business.
Absolutely. Moving along here because we got to get to Royal Rumble week. It is reported that the Royal Rumble finish this year is going to be one of the scariest, and I'm not talking Bray Wyatt scary. I'm talking scary like wrestling fans are going to take a dump over it like never before.
So
it's being reported. I don't know what it's going to be.
You heard it here first. This is my prediction, and I pray to God I am wrong. Goldberg is going to lose to Drew McIntyre, and that is going to be the match, the penultimate match. That is going to be the match that leads into the Royal Rumble. Goldberg is then going to enter at number 30 and win and he is going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. If I am correct, I will lose my mind. I'm already I'm angry just thinking about it. If I watch this happen, I've already told my girlfriend to have her phone camera ready because it will be content worthy. It'll be an epic meltdown of epic proportions.
So I'm just like, let's for argument's sake say that finish doesn't happen. I'm trying to think of what other finish could be so scary other than like maybe. I know a lot of fans.
I know it's going to actually. You know what? I'm going to amend that slightly. You know who he's going to eliminate to become? Daniel Bryan. That will be.
Honestly, if I were the WWE, especially
Which
with
is
how
crazy.
dangerous that guy is in the ring, I would not put him in a ring with Daniel Bryan.
No, well, which is funny because Daniel Bryan is the current outright favorite to win the Royal Rumble this year. He's a 50% favorite, which is outright, is the favorite. The other ones being Edge and Randy Orton, which could also be awful.
Well, yeah, you could have that. I'm going to throw one out there that nobody's even expecting. What if Brock Lesnar comes back at number 30 and just wins?
I
wouldn't mind that,
wouldn't hate
but
that
I
as
know
much as I would hate Goldberg winning.
I know the internet would explode. Oh my God, this part-timer coming back, even though like this part-timer could probably beat the dog shit out of everybody. But I mean, am I right or am I? When
I read that this week, I was oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. That's what I see happening.
I almost want to be in the. I almost want to be in a room with you if this happens.
That's exactly what I see happening.
Yeah.
When they said, "Oh, it's scary," it makes me scared to my stomach, and not in a I'm gonna light the ring on fire, Bray Wyatt type of way. It's the wrestling. I think that is the worst case scenario in my mind, which makes me think that Vince is like, "Oh yeah, we gotta do this." It's
Tim Parks. That was scary. No, Tim Parks is in the chat. He's like, I don't know. Strowman's return last night kind of has me scared that he might win it, which would be awful in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be a fan of that either, but I would be a much bigger fan of him winning than Goldberg. Because at least Strowman is like he's a part of the current roster. He's not showing back up randomly and immediately getting thrust into the.
I miss the old WWF days when you had the part-timers. They would show up and challenge for the title, but just never win.
Right?
Remember those days? I liked those days.
Yeah.
I was excited to be a part of those days. Thank you, LAJ. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm hoping hoping this doesn't happen, but if it does happen, I have a feeling it'll be incredible content.
Last one before we move along here. Mike Fox actually says he thinks Randy Orton's going to throw a fireball at the Fiend and eliminate him to win.
Once again, I wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't hate it.
Because its storyline makes sense.
Somebody please, even though we're moving on here, we're going to mention these throughout the rest of the broadcast. We're going to move on to our championship belts here in a second. But
we got to talk about the Women's Royal Rumble first.
Oh, we do? Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Says the man who every week says WWE
I know.
is the Harvard of women's
I
wrestling.
feel like, I'm sorry.
And then I bring up, I got to talk about the Women's Royal Rumble. No, don't.
I know, we're 20 minutes in. We got a lot to talk about today.
Oh, my God. But anyway, Women's Royal Rumble. The current favorite is to win that is Bianca Belair, which I'd be very happy with. She's an incredible talent. The other ones that
is like my niece's favorite wrestler right now is Bianca Belair.
She's incredible. She is incredible.
I'll have to I'll have to get my brother to film the reaction to that.
Because it's possible that I could see Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, and that would be a banger.
I don't hate that at all.
The other three women that are the other two that are higher up in the odds are Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, of course, because they're Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. The one other person that wasn't mentioned that I could see making her return to the WWE main roster is Rhea Ripley. Because she has not been on NXT. There are rumors that she has been quietly called up to the main roster, and she has actually been at Monday Night Raw and SmackDown the last 2 or 3 weeks. she's been there amongst in the back. So
that could be good.
Yeah,
that could be good.
And run it back. So if Rhea Ripley wins, what'll happen is Charlotte Flair will turn on Asuka and lose the belts this weekend. I think they're going to lose the belts to Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, unfortunately.
Man, I'm getting hate. I'm getting hate in the chat here.
Thank you, Tim Parks.
Tim Parks coming through with the smoke.
Attaboy. And then I think Charlotte Flair turns on Asuka, challenges for her title. She takes the title into WrestleMania season. Rhea Ripley, if she wins the Women's Royal Rumble, if not even, I think that's going to be their challenger, because last year when it was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's title, that match was one of the best matches of both nights. It was so good. Those two women put on a heck of a match.
Put on a clinic.
They did. It was a really good match. Rhea Ripley is one of my favorites right now.
She's very good. She's very good.
Extremely good. And she's always, I think she physically has a presence about her that a lot of women don't.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that.
She physically, if you put her next to a lot of the women, there's only 2 or 3 that I think in a real fight, real matchup could give her a run for her money.
I got 3 favorites as far as the women's go. Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, and my girl Shayna Baszler. I freaking love Shayna Baszler.
I mean, I like Shayna Baszler without Nia Jax, who once again almost killed someone this week. In case you didn't see,
I disagree. I saw the power. I saw the chokeslam power bomb. That girl landed flat on her shoulders.
I understand that, but here's the deal: I don't think she had to throw her that hard. I think Nia Jax does not understand that the person taking the bump is the one who has the control.
Yeah,
that's how she injured Io Shirai. That's how she's injured dozens of people at this point.
It didn't help that she went on social media and complained about about whiners afterwards. I was like,
she doesn't know how to social media. She thinks she's causing heat when in reality we're going to end up being more critical of her every time, because it seems like every month we're seeing her throw someone too hard into the steps or dislocate someone's shoulder or give someone a concussion. Every 2 months at the most.
Yeah.
I think there's also a little bit of she knows she's The Rock's niece and she is untouchable.
Yeah, there's that too.
I think that's gone to her head. But she shouldn't be anywhere near a main roster ring at all. Period. She's not good on the mic. She's not charismatic, and she is. Watching a Nia Jax match is almost as bad as watching a Heidenreich match. It's slow and boring.
Yeah, I'll sit here and say this. Like, while I think everybody's going overboard with the bump this week. I understand the stigma. The stigma
because it
easy
looks,
there, killer.
It
Easy.
looks bad. if you're a wrestler who continues to hurt people and you almost botch another move, of course we're going to be critical.
Yeah,
because it's not getting any better. It's happening time and time and time again.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So yeah, I think everyone deserved to be a little critical of her. She took it's one of those things. She is a big beefy gal and she doesn't know her own strength, which is part of being a wrestler. I'm sorry. What?
A big beefy gal.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Man, we're gonna get hate mail. Send the hate mail to Venue Media, 22 North Mulberry Street.
Listen, if you're gonna send hate mail and you love Nia Jax, I don't know anyone who loves Nia Jax. Please prove me wrong. But
if there's a Nia Jax fan out there, announce yourself.
If there's a Nia Jax out there, a fan out there,
I do know.
Keep it to yourself.
I do know we got some new fans out here. We've got my boy Carl out in Ohio from CrazyCarlsToys.com. CrazyCarlsToys.com.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yes, this man is an avid toy and belt collector, which is going to go.
Speaking of belt collectors,
I know, yes, it's going to go very nicely with our belt. The belt collector that we have coming into the studio next. But shout out to my boy Carl Wortman out there in Ohio watching this for the very first time. But ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, if you have seen the hashtag Pose with the Belt challenge out of all the independent wrestlers this week, that kind of inspired the theme for our show today. It's Championship Belt Week. Where's the beef?
Wait, Michael Fox, where's the beef? I started something, Mike. Oh man,
we're gonna get canceled. I just know it. We're gonna get canceled.
Oh, whatever.
All right, but ladies and gentlemen, we have an avid belt collector here with some of probably the most beautiful championship belts I've ever seen coming on the show today. He has been involved with the professional wrestling scene, and he's been a lifelong professional wrestling fan, if I'm correct. Involved with the professional wrestling scene since about 2014. Am I right?
That's about right. Maybe a little before.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, maybe a little bit. We'll go with 2014 here. But ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Ed Stylc is joining us here in the studio today. I'm going to move over here real quick. We're going to get on this middle mic.
Yeah, since he's got some fun things to show us.
I know we've got a lot. We've got a lot of fun things to show you today, folks. Ed, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing well. Make sure I don't
that a
trip
little
over
closer
this.
for him, Mike.
Move the mic a little closer.
Let's move that mic a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
So anyway, I was back in the green room and I heard the name Goldberg. So I had to look up on my phone. I said, how old is he? Is he older than me? Yeah, by 2 years.
Older than Ed.
But you're also not
pushing somebody my age for the WWE championship or whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just wow.
Well, hey, if you could get that kind of money out of one match, would you do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, not one of us would not do that. Rennes, you'd do it.
Yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah, I know.
Wait,
you would.
with Goldberg? Because there's an
not
issue.
with Goldberg. If you were in Goldberg's position, you'd take that money.
Sure, of course.
If you wouldn't, I'd be a little worried.
He doesn't care. He's going to get paid. Vince doesn't care. He's getting paid. Vince does not care about the wrestling fans right now. He just signed a $1 billion TV deal. He's had the most profitable quarter he's ever had.
Ed, what do you think about this?
Basically, I think that they revel in the fact that people are home pulling their hair out over
Oh,
the
yeah.
show.
Oh, I know. They live to troll the internet.
There's no question about it.
I honestly believe that they write their show to troll the internet.
Yes.
It's just fun to them. And they're going to make $1 billion regardless. If
write
one
Raw.
fan doesn't watch that show, they make $1 billion or almost $1 billion just this year with their 3 TV deals.
Exactly.
It's crazy. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
If I didn't have
to not
heart
entertain
issues,
people.
man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ed, you have quite I'm looking at the belt collection sitting over here, and it's probably one of the most impressive collections of wrestling memorabilia that I've ever seen here.
Yeah.
And it's not even close to people that I know what they have. There's a guy sitting in Florida with ring-used belts in his closet, just stacked up. And I'm like, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you would think you would display them somewhere. But I've seen personal friends of mine have double, triple what I have. Wow. But we have enough hardware here to show, I think, for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
I had a talent that I used to book that did a WWE taping. This is probably like 5 or 6 years ago. But he goes, he's sitting in the back minding his own business by this giant rolling case. And somebody walks over and just pulls open a drawer, and there's just 5 or 6 Intercontinental titles just sitting in there. And he's just just dumbfounded by what he just saw. So I can only imagine, fans sitting at home having ring-used belts in this closet, it's just, oh, hey,
Right.
nothing to see here. Just
It got to the point for me where I knew I had too many, where I had some under my bed, and I know another friend of mine was already doing that. I'm like, I'm done. I have to cut it down to about 5. That's enough.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're a married man, too. I mean, the
Oh,
wife's
yeah.
probably got to give you a little help for that, too.
Well, she tolerates it.
Oh, she tolerates
Yeah,
it?
but no more.
No more?
I'm at my limit.
All right, so we're going to bring some of the we're going to explain the history of some of these belts here that we're going to bring on the air, and there's one here to my right here that I'm looking at, and I've always thought this is one of the most beautiful belts in professional wrestling belt history, at least. Right here, we've got.
Should I grab that?
Yeah, we can go ahead and set that right here in the center.
Yeah, Mike,
Give me
if
the
you
heavy
wanna-
one first.
Yeah, I got you.
That way we get it out of the way first.
And ladies and gentlemen,
Great
this,
idea.
This is about a 20-pound belt here that I'm holding.
Easily.
Yeah, easily, guys. So why don't we go ahead and explain some of the history on this belt?
Okay, I guess the one we're starting with is the AWA Heavyweight Championship from the 70s and the early 80s.
All right.
And it was called the inmate belt because it was made by inmates in a prison.
Yeah, this is this was made by inmates in a Denver penitentiary, if I remember correctly.
The original, right.
Yeah.
And This one is a replica. It's a lot heavier than the original. Put it this way, Stan Hansen wasn't running over this sucker. Wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
You're on
you got to
plate.
So you got to explain this story because a lot of wrestling fans probably don't know about this story or have never heard this story before about Stan Hansen.
Yeah, I'm really bad with dates and years, but basically they wanted him to drop the AWA title to Jerry Lawler. And it was within Stan's contract that he didn't have to do anything he didn't want to do because of Japan. So he got fed up when they want the belt back, Stan. So he goes, okay, and he took it outside, ran it over with his pickup truck, and sent it back to Vern Gagne.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Vern goes and gets another belt commission that Jerry Lawler eventually wins. And then Jerry Lawler gets stiffed on a payout for Super Clash 3, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it was the one with Kerry Von Erich and him where they unified the belts. If I'm
where
remembering.
Kerry bled like a pig.
Yeah. So he gets stiffed on the payday, and then he keeps that belt.
Right.
So
and there seems to be a lot like in the territory days of, and we don't see this much anymore because belts meant something.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Belts 100%, they meant something. The problem, like where I have an issue right now with WWE, it's like everyone has a belt. Everyone has a belt. There's 2 tag team champions, there's 2 women's champions, there's 2 main titles. Like it's just everyone's got a belt. There's like 10 titles.
And I just found out that the WWF Tag Team Championship that I grew up with, that was discontinued, that lineage.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that when they went to Raw and SmackDown tag belts or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the Raw tag belts were the tag team belts that everybody remembers.
Okay,
if I remember correctly, yeah, the Raw tag team belts were the tag team titles, like the World Tag Team titles that date back to like the 80s and the 70s, and the SmackDown belts were actually created. They were created from scratch.
And the original of this particular belt, talking about getting into belt collecting, was one of the first belts I ran up to ringside in Baltimore during a Pro Wrestling USA show, and just asked the guys there if I could snap a picture. I still have it. Then it did the same thing later with Tully Blanchard's NWA national, the national belt, and that kind of got me into it. And then I guess it was back in maybe 1998. Figures Incorporated had the first copy of Ric Flair Big Gold belt.
Yes,
but it was very, very thin plated. But it was awesome. It didn't even matter. It was $300, and it was.
I think they were selling that for like $199, and I remember seeing that in Pro Wrestling Illustrated because they had Figures Incorporated put out that big ad in Pro Wrestling Illustrated that you would see every month for the championship belts. I remember one of the rarest, if you can find it out there, it's the rarest replica belt ever. It is the WCW World Tag Team title. The one from like 97, they ended up releasing an abridged version of it in 98, 99 with an eagle on it. But this one was really small, had no eagle on it, but it was like basically the same as the one that everybody remembers coming over from the invasion.
Right.
If you can find that belt, it's worth so much money.
I bet you I know somebody out there, Russ Miller, who could probably find that. I think he's online.
Yes, but AWA inmate belt, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually, if I was reading up the history on this, this is one of the first, because everybody complains about the Velcro belts now, because WWE's doing it. But this was one of the first belts ever that was affixed, attached by Velcro.
It's absolutely true. And even with this heavy plate,
so
and
if you
everything,
can see this here, guys,
that Velcro does hold the belt together.
Does it?
Even this heavy,
Wow.
as heavy as this one is.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like we were holding the belt beforehand. This belt is incredibly heavy.
Yeah, this is one of the heavier championship belts that I've ever held. I'm not gonna lie here.
So I'll help with the belt.
Yeah, we're gonna have Rennes. We're gonna have Rennes here.
This is gonna be the toughest one to get in and out.
Yeah, that one is very heavy. All right, what else do we got over here?
Whatever they feel like.
I want to go to the 70s here, Jay.
Grab the blue one with the eagle on top.
Yeah, I want to go to the 70s here.
That'll work. That was the first one I ever saw live. First belt.
Yes, this is.
Just don't break it across the floor like superstar Billy Graham did. That's all.
Please don't. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is a piece of wrestling history for all of you older wrestling fans out here. If you're in your 40s, or if you are, is it upside down?
Yeah.
Come on, Mike.
I know, I'm terrible.
Disrespectful.
That's
all
like
right.
Flair at the Royal Rumble when he held the belt up for the first time. It's upside down.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this right here, if you were a fan of wrestling in the 70s, this will bring back memories. This is the belt Bruno Sammartino and Bob Backlund.
Bruno's, well, actually, even if you think about it, Stan Stasiak had the first version of it with that eagle, and all they did, The Pedro Morales belt, which came before this, had a different kind of eagle with the wings down.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in between, because there's no really video footage, Stan Stasiak lost the belt to Bruno, and it had this eagle on it.
Huh.
So this was in use from somewhere around 73, 74 until Billy Graham destroyed it in about 82.
Wow.
I had the opportunity to actually, I had WrestleMania, the only WrestleMania I went to, WrestleMania 30, I actually ran into and got to meet Bruno Sammartino in the airport.
Amazing.
Super nice guy.
I got to drive him to the airport once. It was awesome.
And then I met Bob Backlund outside of Access. He came out, just started talking to people. He was, peddling pictures and stuff.
He hooked you in the chicken wing.
He did.
He did that to me.
Holy crap. And he put me in the chicken wing.
That was a shoot, brother.
That sumbitch hurt.
He told me why he does it that way, too, because if you don't grimace in pain, it doesn't look like anything. You have to make the photo up right.
It hurt. Oh, my gosh. Dude is nuts, too.
Oh, yeah. You gotta love you some Bob Backlund.
Oh yeah,
Bob Backlund's one. He's a character. So
my dad and I have a. It's the first WWE encyclopedia, and what we do is we take that to different wrestling shows and stuff, and have them sign their page.
Right.
And I was lucky enough that weekend I got Bob Backlund to sign it and Bruno Sammartino to sign it and Bret the Hitman Hart to sign it.
Yeah, the Bret one I would have marked out for.
It was cool. Yeah. It was super cool. He was on my flight.
Oh, Bret was on your flight?
Yep.
Yeah, I had who was it? And my buddy Justin will have to clear this up if he's ever watching the show. But I think we had Michael P.S. Hayes on a flight coming home from WrestleMania once. So that was, or we met him in the line or something. But yeah, that was always a cool experience to kind of see.
Yeah, this is I don't know if you can tell from the video, you can't, but it also has it's blue on the outside but red on the inside.
The red backing on the inside. Yeah, here.
It's really.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is a real deal of one of these belts. Not the exact version, but this isn't one of the replicas you're going to find on like Fandu or something. This is the real deal.
I've seen the Fandu version of this. It's nice for the price, but the shape's all wrong.
Oh yeah,
the plating shape and the leather is wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say the leather looks a little off, but still a nice price for a belt for a replica.
Right,
and that's the thing that I say. I was telling you guys before the show started is that if you're collecting a $300 mass-produced belt and you like it, that's great. The whole point of it is to have fun with it. Things like these that go up into four figures. That's not for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You're no different a belt collector just because of the price.
Oh, you want to show the back of the strap here?
Yeah.
So
I was talking about the red.
Yeah, we're gonna. Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not going to knock.
It's not a beer. Liquid Death, Mountain
Wait a
Water.
minute, we got
Liquid
beer.
Death.
We do have beer.
Yep.
We have plenty of fine pilsners over there for you.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's the back of the strap there. It's red backing.
Yeah,
looks really.
And that's a Dave Milliken made belt. And the way they created this, they didn't have, because the original's busted up. Bob Backlund still holds all the pieces to it. But they took Pedro Morales' version, they took the eagle off, put the proper eagle on, and casted all the plates. And that's how they were able to create this, because when I started collecting, you couldn't get it.
Wow.
Yeah. I was about to say, this was very hard to get back in the day.
Alrighty.
So
that was the one I always wanted.
No, but this is a Dave Milliken. You got to explain. So for the fans out here who don't know anything about the belt industry, or who aren't brushed up on the belt industry here, explain who Dave Milliken is.
Dave Milliken has been known as the Ace of Belts, and he's a disciple of Reggie Parks, who we'll get to later.
Yeah, Reggie's like the king of belts almost, yeah.
And they've made the best wrestling belts over the last decade and a half or whatever it's been under the banner Midwest Wrestling. They have a business agreement. Now, they're the best belts you can get. Right now, I won't get into details, but there's a really long waiting list, and there's a lot of issues going on there that we won't talk about. I would always suggest if you want a Milliken Parks belt to get it aftermarket.
Yeah.
From somebody else. You're going to pay for it, but if that's what you want, you'll get it.
Yeah. All right. We are coming on, and here's a belt that I think everybody is familiar with. They've probably seen it at some point in time on a wrestling program here and there.
Does Nick Aldis still hold this?
Yes, Nick Aldis still holds this. This is the legendary 10 pounds of gold. This is the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. This right here, if you were a professional wrestler in the mid 80s or even the early 2000s, because I remember, when the NWA made a comeback there with TNA, this was a belt that you wanted to hold. This has been held by wrestling legends Lou Thez, Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, Ric Flair, Harley Race, Kerry Von Erich, AJ Styles. The list goes on and on. This is the legendary 10 pounds of gold. And why don't you explain a little bit of the history on this?
Well, first, we can't forget the great Giant Baba.
Giant Baba.
So I think this made its first appearance. And again, some of my belt mark friends out there will kill me on the dates. But the first time this made an appearance was on a red strap. I believe it was somewhere in between Harley Race and Jack Briscoe is where it made its first appearance. And it absolutely was everything that Mike said. This was the real deal. I was actually disappointed when it got replaced with the big gold. Because at first I didn't take to it. I thought it was too gaudy, and this was just a piece of history. Then I learned to love them both for different reasons, if that makes any sense. And this one, we were talking about, prices. This is a mass-produced belt. This one is, the plate's all mass-produced, and I just had it re-leathered. I've owned the real handcrafted ones, and I owned this one, and it was hard to tell the difference. So, I spent all $300 to get those plates, and I just paid to have it re-leathered.
Wow.
So you can get something really, really nice and not blow a ton of money.
Yes, and this is where you can really tell the craftsmanship on the leather here. The edge of the leather, how it is it's like almost stitched like a baseball.
Yeah.
I always call it the baseball stitching, but this is right now, like if you were to go out and purchase an NWA World Championship, on the aftermarket, this is where you would tell what's the real deal and what's not, is this leathering. If you can get a close-up on that. Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, man. LAJ is on it.
LAJ is on. He is on everything today. I love it. You even got a little
little Voltage Wrestling.
Yeah, I know. We got the Voltage Wrestling merchandise on here. But
and the NWA has really made a great comeback in the last year or two.
They had me hooked for a little while when we were in the TBS studio.
Yeah.
I was watching it. I guess they shut it down because of COVID or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it had that feel for me at my age. I was like, okay, I can get into this.
TV studio wrestling, man. It's good, and it's kept to under an hour. Yep. Like my boss and I would watch it on our lunch breaks.
I wasn't I'm notoriously not a fan of the retro wrestling. However, I love when people if you're going to do retro wrestling, commit to it.
And
I
they commit to it 100%.
How Billy Corgan committed to the look and the feel and the aesthetic of it.
Got it right.
Yeah, he really did. Right. He really got it right. I think that's the best thing about the NWA.
I do miss Jim Cornette's commentary. I'm sorry, love him, hate him, whatever. He's still one of the best talkers.
Yeah,
who was in the business, whatever. He made an unfortunate comment,
and they could have edited it out.
Right,
is the thing.
Oh yeah, because I don't think they were. Yeah, I don't think they were going live.
No, it was because it was all taped, and that was the thing. He made it. He made the comment, and they knew it was in there because they taped 10 episodes or something in over a course of 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And they could have edited it out, and they decided not to.
Makes you wonder if somebody had it in for him in the production booth.
Oh, probably.
Right.
Probably.
Right. I mean, Cornette's a not toxic, but a very polarizing figure in professional wrestling. Which one?
Big gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think Cornette likes it that way. They're just getting to that because he's made a nice little podcast industry for himself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, here's one everybody's going to love. This is an OG right here. Yeah, this is tradition right here. Ladies and gentlemen, even on the brown strap too.
Yeah, well, I went old school.
This right here is the big gold Ric Flair. Woo! Ric Flair Sting. This is late 80s NWA right here at its finest. And why don't you you got a little history on this one?
The belt itself,
yeah.
Mine. This one, one history I can give you about this design, it's not copyrighted. Anybody can make it. The original was made by a jeweler. They call it the Crumrine version of the belt, and it was all hand lettered. It's ridiculous. This one is not that, but it's real close. And this was made by a guy in Germany, and his company was called Belt Performance. And I do not believe that Billy's in business any longer, but there are a lot of good versions of these available.
But the original, I think it was like a Silversmith in Reno, Nevada.
It's something like that. Yeah, some sort of jeweler. And what happened was the reason there's a newer replica than what I have. They contacted that place, and they did one to the best of their ability. And then somebody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. And now you can get those. was one of those Pakistani companies actually does a great one.
Yeah, there's a couple.
I'm not plugging them though.
Yeah, I'm not gonna plug any particular company. I've owned one of the Pakistani belts. I had a winged eagle that I used for Fight Pro Wrestling that we had made in Pakistan by somebody who did a wonderful job on it. Really, like the plates were even thicker than like some of the winged eagles that I've seen elsewhere. But did a wonderful job on it, and I got my money's worth for what I paid for it.
Right.
I think it was like $400 or $500 that I paid for that, and you could definitely see that there was quality in it. It's just when we get to some of the other, what's up? Go ahead and open it up.
Yeah, but that sits in a prime space in my man cave basement. It really does.
bet.
Can you get a zoom in on that plate? Because this one, the nameplate there at the bottom. Yeah, this is the big standout for this one because that nameplate is different than you would see on the WCW World Heavyweight title or even the World Heavyweight title currently.
When I got this one, normally that nameplate's removable.
Yeah.
And for whatever, I can't remember the reason the belt guy was having trouble with it at that point. He goes, "Do you care if it's just like attached to the main plate?" I'm like, there was only one name I'm ever going to have on it. It's Ric Flair.
Well, yeah, that's Ric Flair's belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of this belt, it's Ric Flair.
I'm bummed that they got rid of this, this design on television because now while the current belt is nice, but there's two of them. This is unique. The WWE title and the heavyweight, what was the heavyweight championship in WWE for a while. It was unique. It was different. It had its, they're
making those belts like Super Bowl logos now, and it's just not the same.
Right.
Yeah. Like you know about the Super Bowl logos, like it's just generic and just kind of sterile now.
There is not a spinner belt here today,
no,
Dad.
There is not a spinner belt.
Didn't I tell you I brought one? No, I'm just kidding. That wouldn't happen.
I don't mind the spinner belt. I thought it was a cool, it was for the time, it was a cool gimmick.
It was an interesting idea. I guess it took off because they sold enough.
Oh yeah, they sold a bunch of them.
Now, Ed, I know you're kind of a local wrestling historian here, so I want to ask you, involving this belt, you've probably seen a lot of great matches involving this belt. What's your favorite?
Man, you're really asking.
I know. I'm going back on you.
I mean, cool. You got to go with the standard bear, Flair Steamboat.
Yeah, Flair Steamboat.
I don't see how
I was
you can
going to
go
with
past that. I mean, I've seen plenty of awesome matches, but that has to be it.
Yeah, it has to be Flair Steamboat. Has to be.
89? Yeah, 89.
Was it the one in New Orleans?
Well, there's one that's floating out there from the Capitol Center with no what's got audio. Yeah, check that one out.
I know Shane Heimberger's probably working, but Shane, if you ever watch this back, I know you've shared this match before from the Capitol Center. You may have even been there for that match. If you have a link to it, please send it.
And I guess I'll tell you, the one because I didn't see Flair Steamboat in person. The best one I ever saw in person was at the Crockett Cup. Ric Flair, Barry Windham.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah,
was that the one where he cut the promo? All the ladies ages 18 to 28, no husbands, no boyfriends. Like
I can't even get the promo straight in my head anymore yearly, but probably
Yeah, that was the promo where the limo driver he partied so hard that he died 3 months later. I don't mean to laugh at that, but I mean that's a pretty hard party, and not everybody can party with Ric Flair, ladies and gentlemen.
I have.
Have you?
Oh yeah, Richmond Marriott, him and Ivan Koloff on Ivan Koloff's birthday. The only thing they said was no pictures, but there's a picture of Ric Flair and Ivan holding my daughter.
That's cool.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Lazies.
I know. I can't even speak today. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here that I have in front of me is the silver tuna of wrestling boats. Wrestling belts. Man, I cannot speak at all today.
You didn't have your.
I did not have my. I did not have my pasta salad, my Coke. Man.
For those of you who don't know, before almost every Saturday morning, Mike goes upstairs to the place upstairs and gets a Diet Coke and two Diet Cokes and a thing of pasta salad.
I start the morning with Diet Cokes.
Yeah.
But not pasta salad.
No,
it's every morning. I got to have my carb intake in the morning. Jesus, man, y'all are going hard on me.
My dad. I know you've got one.
All right. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is there's something unique about this winged eagle, and I'm going to let you kind of explain this.
Okay.
This is
the wing. If you look first thing, are you referring to the logo?
Well, yeah. Go ahead and zoom in on that again.
That bothers me.
What? Oh, the WW logo, I know.
You can, because WWF block letters is no longer allowed to be used. This version, WW, is no longer allowed to be used. So I don't know what you do if you're trying to buy one brand new.
Yeah, you can't.
No, absolutely not. Because it's close to what they look, what it looks like.
They copyrighted this logo when John Cena released this. I want to say it was when John Cena released that Word Life T-shirt, like the baseball jersey style one. Yeah.
And think about it. That WW just looks like a single W, so it looks like it's infringing off what they use now in a way, just not block lettering.
Right.
But anyway, that's made. This one's made by Reggie Parks, who made the original.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is an authentic, and ladies and gentlemen, Mike Fox says I've got this belt sitting on my dresser. Hold on 1 second here.
And my dad has one as well.
Oh, look at your boy Barry Kramer coming through with the Steamboat Flair match from the Capitol Center. We're going to post this on the podcast pit page.
Well done, Barry.
Thank you for that, Barry. I appreciate you.
And well, you can tell with this one, it does say, Mike, at the end, it's got the Reggie Parks stamp on the leather.
Oh, it's got the Reggie Parks stamp. Oh,
yeah,
yes,
right
it
there.
does.
There you go.
Yes, it does. We'll get a zoom in on that. That is very, very important to show here. I'm gonna just put up the strap here.
And Reggie's 86 years young.
If you can get as far in as possible as you can on that, you can see the Reggie Parks stamp.
Oh wow!
Hold on, there we go. The Reggie Parks stamp on the strap there.
I got you.
That is OG right there.
So, my question: you copyright this and that. What happens if you make a belt with the original WWE?
Well, that's called bootlegging.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Well, you can because it gets done.
Yeah, it gets done. It gets done. It's just, yeah. You like that?
I've seen some nice winged eagles with the full WWF block logo that were made by, bootleggers, and they're good, but you're infringing on somebody's artwork.
Absolutely.
So what?
I know. Hey,
Wait. So if you show up at a fan convention or something with it, what's going to happen?
Well, we might as well talk about this. That's a great point. One of the reasons that the bootleg market has become so prevalent is because Midwest is 9 years behind at some point on delivering.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, if you want one of these,
call me or call one of my friends.
You gotta have somebody with an in. Like you're waiting 9-10 years for one of these belts.
That's crazy. I wouldn't do it. I'd be dead by then. I'm old.
Who was the other guy that was like really popular there, like in the early
Jamar?
Jamar, you see?
Oh man, did he?
Yeah,
I never ordered from him, thank God. But I know people are still waiting.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I don't. Is he around anymore?
Yes, yeah, I've heard he's making belts for somebody here and there, once in a while.
I remember.
Friends, maybe.
Wow. I remember him making belts. Like for those of you who don't know, like the late '90s, if you watched a professional wrestling event on TV and saw a championship belt, chances are they were getting made by this guy named Joe Marshall from JMR Belts. All of them, like the ECW belts, WWE's belts, WCW's belts, they were all getting made by JMR. And then out of nowhere, people just kind of stopped receiving their belts.
Yeah, it seems like they take it, like a lot of belt makers, I'm not speaking about anyone in particular or anything, they take in too many orders that they know they can't fill.
Well, yeah, and you're talking about, look at the late 90s here. You're talking about the .com boom. A lot of people, I remember a lot of people that were making belts back then, they would put a link up where you could just pay for it and they would just have your order out or whatever. And,
so they get the money
up front.
Up front.
You got it.
It's the Attitude Era.
It's considered
the hottest time in the history of professional wrestling. And it would be easy to fall behind when you've got the .com boom, people have money, and people are willing to spend that money.
Right.
The economy was great back then.
Now you know the end of the story.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even get it up front. Smart. I mean, hey, always get paid up front, I guess, but
yeah,
man.
I remember
that's why people are still waiting.
And the waiting never used to be that bad. For example,
Right.
the Bob Backlund WWF belt we had up here, I probably waited 18 months, maybe. That's fine.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, so for those of you out there that are buying belts and are waiting 6 to 8 weeks, consider yourself lucky.
See, my dad put in the chat, Brian Carbo, Rennes, I promise one day you will have the white IC belt. He knows how much I love that belt. I love that look. Something about it just
that is
it
like
looks
one of the,
prestigious. Yeah. It looks like it's clean. It looks like like you could be. Now I do like the new Intercontinental title. I do like the design of it.
Yeah.
It's still not the white one, but the reason they got rid of the white one is because Cody Rhodes was the one who remade it, the white belt, and now that he's in AEW, they had to get rid of it. They had to.
I'm just amazed that I didn't know until not all that long ago how now there used to be only one belt.
Right.
But now there's belts for TV, belts for house shows, that kind of thing.
Well, there was a thing a couple years ago that who was it? Brock Lesnar had like lost his belt or forgotten his belt somewhere, and because it had these on it, and on TV people noticed that it had Velcro. It's the backup one that they keep backups of all the belts. That way, if one goes missing or one gets stuck in customs or something, they have a belt for the champion, no matter what.
It's one of the reasons when I owned a WWF ring used belt for a while that, well, I don't have to kayfabe, but it was the Pedro Morales 1973-74 WWF belt.
The hell you say?
I have pictures of it. I don't have it anymore. But I thought about contacting Titan Towers. Hey, you interested in this? Because I knew they had a bunch of belts laying around.
Right.
But I just figured it'd be like, they were like, no, give it to us. So I was like, nope, never did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have taken that chance.
No.
No.
It's long out of my hands anyway.
No, so you're talking about like we've got Tim Parks in the chat saying, "Hey, I love the IC title too. Always have." Let me ask you, what's your favorite belt?
My belts are favorites for not aesthetic reasons, but for what I saw and what they meant to me. I'll tell you why. One of the other reasons I started belt collecting. See if you guys remember this or not. Yearly or maybe semi-annually, whatever, you'd see a photo in front of Pro Wrestling Illustrated with the 3 champions. Who's the best?
Yeah.
And I had a magazine with Dusty Rhodes, Bob Backlund, and Nick Bockwinkel, and all of them holding them. And I was like, if I ever get the opportunity, I want all 3 world titles from my childhood. And I collect based on memory, not so much. But if you wanted to ask me what I think the best looking belt is ever, it's sitting right in front of you.
Yeah. I totally agree. This belt.
Yeah, we already did that one.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't get to zoom in on it, though.
Oh, you didn't get to zoom in on it? Well, yeah, we'll bring that back in.
Okay, we can bring it back in.
Yeah, we'll bring that one back on here in a moment. No, but this Winged Eagle belt is like the belt of my childhood.
Right.
This is the belt that you saw Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart and, Diesel, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Andre the Giant wore that belt.
And
so, we're bringing this one back on the air because we didn't get to zoom in on this one.
If you do zoom in on it, I tilted a little bit and showed how thick those plates are. That's why it's so heavy.
Oh, well, I'm going to get the
it's
thickness.
what 4? It's 1, 2, 4
This
layers.
is probably.
Almost
I'm going to let you guys know out there. This is probably a 25-pound belt.
It might be.
Yeah.
The second heaviest I ever held were the old NWA tags
okay.
that say the Rock and Roll Express held, or Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude, that version.
Yeah, they actually brought those back recently.
Yeah, they're heavy.
I tell you.
So I'm gonna tilt this just here to the side so you can see how the plates are stacked. Like these are like 2-3 plates on top of each other here.
Yeah.
And the original isn't really like that, but this makes it pop a little more. I kind of think like if Hulk Hogan really would have won the AWA title, they could have recreated it like this.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. This was a belt you would have seen held by Vern Gagne, Nick Bockwinkel,
Rick Martel, Stan Hansen.
This one reminds me a lot of boxing belts.
Yes.
This one is very much a boxing, and that's why I'm a big fan of AEW's main championship and all of New Japan's. I just something about their design.
They're gorgeous. I'll tell you that.
They're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I think you were talking about the IWGP Intercontinental.
Yes.
I mean, it's all of them.
That's
are
my favorite
gorgeous
belt.
belts.
And if Mike Black's watching out there, I believe Mike Black has an IWGP. A custom-made IWGP championship. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say that he does.
Yeah, because
if he's out there,
I would
go ahead and shout us out and let us know.
I would assume they probably don't mass market their belts.
No, they don't
at all. Or if they do, they're very hard.
The right bootlegger.
I think they did. Somebody can correct me. I think they did, and they were pretty expensive for replicas.
I bet.
I mean, because when we call these are real handcrafted as opposed to
and I think with New Japan and stuff, they've been using the same belts for decades. They don't change belts every couple of years like the WWE
it
does.
Makes it more important sometimes.
Right? Mike Black just shouted out, yes, he does. Mike, we're going to have to get you in the studio here and show that off. I wish I could have had you today. It slipped my mind to
I may have to make
contact
a
you,
trip
but
back up to see that.
yeah, like we'll have you back up, Ed, to talk some more because I believe we're gonna. I want to have you back up to talk some wrestling history just here around the area.
Oh, we can do that.
So I was about to say
Yeah.
you're very knowledgeable in the history of wrestling around here.
Oh, there's a book out called, and I didn't write it, called Battleground Baltimore. It's the history of wrestling at the Baltimore Civic Center.
Is that Graham Calthon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am a heavy contributor. I've
Yeah,
got all
I
my
used
little
to be.
snippets and stories.
I
in
used
there.
to like early on. I'm talking like early 2000s. I would contribute photos and ring results from like the DC and Baltimore shows
Right.
when I would go. We would talk back and forth on AIM at the time. Reinforcer 13.
Oh wow,
Reinforcer 13. If you remember.
AIM.
Yeah.
For those AOL Instant Messenger.
God,
Oh,
AOL.
absolutely. I'm showing my age there. Absolutely.
I still hear it dialing in.
Oh, it gets better.
The
Mike
IWGP
Black.
heavyweight signed by Muta.
He's got the IWGP heavyweight title, and it is signed by the Great Muta.
Now, did you get it signed on the front or the back?
Did you get it signed on the front or the back, Mike?
Give him
Let
a
us know.
second, but
Yeah. He's got the IC one too.
Wow.
The
See,
IW
I wrote the book down because I'm a big. I like to read a lot, and that's how I have a lot of my wrestling knowledge. I've read a lot, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of books. There's not a lot of non-kayfabe books.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are. If we were talking about now, there are two WCW books. There's Nitro, which is an incredible book, and The Rise and Fall of WCW, which has been called. Some of the things have been called into question. Written by Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer.
Oh
Online.
yeah, that book. A lot of it's bad.
I read that, but it was a while ago.
Yeah, a lot of the information in that book is bad. I love Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, but I'm sorry, you guys got that wrong.
But like, there's one on ECW I want to read. There's a couple on ECW I want to read. It's really hard to find stuff
Were you the one that told me about the book Nitro by Guy Evans?
Yeah,
dude, have you read this book
No.
yet? You gotta read
I
that
think it's
one.
on Kindle.
Yeah,
it's
it
on
is.
Kindle, but I actually did an Audible. I listened to it during quarantine. I found it. I was going on runs, walking, bored out of my mind. So I just started listening to Nitro, and it is. I mean, it's long. It is.
Yeah, it's
but
very
it
long.
is detailed.
If you ever want to read a book if you want to hear the history of the WWF before the expansion era, get Bob Backlund's biography.
Really?
It is impeccably everything about it. It's accurate. I can vouch for just watching the old Madison Square Garden shows month to month. He goes into every challenger he ever had, regular challenger, and it's amazing. It's one of the best
Mike
books
Black
I've
in
ever
the chat saying the front is signed.
The front sign, awesome.
That's a no-no.
That's a no-no.
Let's put it this way: for collectors, we don't want them signed at all usually. But if you do, get them signed on the back so it doesn't take from your front display. That's all. But it's your preference. If you own it, it doesn't matter.
Right, just from a collector.
Oh yeah, if you're reselling it, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can wipe their signatures right off if you really wanted to.
And even then, like, it's pretty awesome that somebody's got a.
But that's okay because my original.
You know how rare that is to have an IWGP title signed by Muta. That's pretty freaking awesome.
And you see, I say that, but I have at home a replica of the original Intercontinental belt, and I had Ken Patera sign the front.
You did?
Well, on the side, like way down on the strap, And here's what a dumbass I am. Can you say?
You're fine.
I had that belt, and it had a glue problem because it had Velcro too. But it's a lighter belt. It's a homemade thing. And I didn't think about it at the time. I met Pat Patterson before he passed away. I could have had Patterson and Patera, the first two on the belt. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Pat Patterson, passed away just a couple of weeks back. Am I right?
A couple months.
Yeah, it's a couple months now?
I think it was 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like towards the end. It was like this.
Yeah, it's towards
November,
the end of 2020.
December of 2020.
There's so many wrestlers that have passed away this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's starting to be like tarot cards at this point. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank Ed for coming on the show. This has been a great show. We're going to have you back here sooner or later. We're going to do a show on wrestling history here in the area as far as the major promotions go. And I know LAJ is going to be interested to hear that episode. He's going to be enjoying that as old school wrestling fan back there. We're going to have him back on the show here within the next couple of weeks. But ladies and gentlemen, Ed, thank you for being on the show. For Rennes and myself, this is the Podcast Pit. We will see you next week. Same podcast time, same podcast channel.
This is the Podcast Pit, brought to you by Ben Media.